It's 8 p.m. East Africa time. Welcome. This is the Alternative Voice, and I'm your host tonight, Cleophas Oluoch. Welcome. This is the Alternative Voice, yeah? And so we want to have a discussion tonight, and it's very cold. It's very cold in Nairobi, and we have a number of people already in on YouTube and Facebook. If you're joining us, feel free to share with us where you are tuned in from. Millicent, Sylvester, Wariri Kibadi. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And so tonight I have one amazing guest. We want to go straight into the discussion. As you can see on the screen, Miss Betty Cynthia is our guest, and tonight we're talking about her battle with mental illness. How did she battle a mental illness? What was the situation? What led to what? And how was it advancing? Mutuma Victor, Josephine Muhoko waiting, and we're already here with all these views on YouTube. Thank you very much. And now it's our honor and pleasure to have our first guest after a long break for media journey. One Miss Betty Cynthia. Betty Cynthia, how are you?
I'm fine, I'm fine. How about you?
Let, let me say Miss Betty Cynthia. Aish, nimesahau hiyo aje.
Haji. Hi.
Nisije nikachoma. Yes, so here we are with our guest tonight, ladies and gentlemen. If you're joining us on Facebook and YouTube, our guest tonight is Miss Betty Cynthia, and our topic of discussion is battling mental illness. And so, Betty Karibu, this is the Alternative Voice, and we will really wish to hear from you tonight.
Thank you very much.
Yes, so just to start us off, who is Betty Cynthia? We've known and if those who are lucky enough to have read your stories online, those who've hosted you, those who've seen the the shows that you've attended, and the kind of a person they expect tonight. Maybe if you can just bring them up to speed. I know it's always a difficult question for most to tell us who you really are, but I know from Betty Cynthia we can get to know her a little bit before we start the show.
Okay, thank you first and foremost for the welcome. I feel lucky to be one of the first guest after such a long time. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. So, Betty Cynthia is a very young, vibrant soul who is also a paralegal student at the Kenya School of Law. I am a born again Christian, and by passion, I'm a mental health activist. And I take pride in talking about mental health. I take pride in leading with love. I take pride in voicing the voiceless topics in the society, one of which is mental health. I'm a mental health activist and the founder of MSD Foundation, which means Mental Stress Disorders. And we are a small team of lovely people who come together to just bring impact and voice the topic of mental health. Yes, and I'm also a youth leader in church. And yes, that's who Miss Betty Cynthia is in a nutshell.
Wow. Betty Cynthia has so many arts all together, a youth leader in church, a paralegal student at Kenya School of Law, and one who is also passionate about human human rights. And if I can say, it's more of you're more of a mental health activist. And so it's our pleasure to have you tonight on our shows, and we go deep into it. Betty, what pushed you into this mental health activism? Yes.
My passion grew through my personal experience. And through my personal experience, I got to know things that I didn't know, and the same things I wanted them to be amplified to the society. So, what's my greatest inspiration behind being a mental health activist, behind starting an organization, behind talking about mental health, is my journey in that area that was quite difficult, and making the personal decision that no one else deserves to go through a difficult time without a shoulder to lean on. So yes, my inspiration was basically my journey, the lessons I learned, the hardships I felt, and the pain that was there. So what I do right now is just a product of all that all together, a result of everything that I went through in my personal journey.
Great. And so, Betty, if you talk about learning from the past and also getting these lessons from your past experience, that's one interesting area that we'll really go into. But I would like to get your perspective. How is the mental health state, the status of mental health currently in our country? And those whom you've interacted with, be it in any other group that you've been in, how can you rate our ways of dealing with mental illness as a country?
I would say that we are trying, but we are not where we should be. For example, I will give just one simple example. In other countries, there is a separate budget to deal with mental health sector in the country. But in our country, we find that it's vice versa. We only have one public institution that deals with mental illness. So I can say that there are individuals and sectors that are trying, but there's still some effort that is needed from all areas, even from the little sector like the society, the churches. There's so much effort that we can drive into the mental health sector in our country. And I wouldn't want to say we are badly off because I see people trying. I see projects. I see very many people coming out and talking about this topic, but we are really not where we should be. There's a lot that needs to be done. There's a lot that needs to be talked about. There's a lot of stigma around the topic that makes it so hard to talk about mental health. And the minute we deal with this stigma, then I'd be at a place of saying we are better off as a country. The minute we deal with the stigma that comes with mental illness, with depression, and the minute we take it as serious as we take other illnesses, because like we're calling it a mental illness. So the minute we start treating it as an illness is the minute we will probably say we are better off as a country. So I will say we are 50% trying, but there's also this other 50% that needs to be done for it to be where we should be, honest, as a country and even as a society, and even as mental health activists in Kenya. There is some bit that needs to be done. There's a lot of effort that needs to be driven. There's a lot of effort that needs to be taken into the mental health sector in our country.
Great. We are in the right step or a step towards the right direction to ensure that we have this awareness of mental health passed across everyone in our society. And that's a good plus for all those people who are involved in this. So we have a number of people who are tuned in: Brian Mullis, Leander, Janet, Josephine Kieti, Nicholas Owiti, Oginga, tuned from Kilifi. You can tell us where you are tuned in from, Brian Mullis, Akeno, and everyone who is joining us live on Facebook and YouTube. Tonight we're talking with Miss Betty Cynthia. We are talking about battling mental health or battling mental illness. And so, Miss Betty, I want to dive deep into this, and I just want to go to your story so that someone who is watching tonight might be in a position to know or to see how you transformed from the person you are 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and the person you are tonight. So, if you can say it and they hear it from the horse's mouth. There are those people I told tonight I'm having a serious guest, and here we have you, Miss Betty. So tell us your journey in battling mental illness from the start. I know it's a long story, and that's why we are here tonight, to be encouraged and to be motivated that there is something that can come out of mental illness, and there is a recovery process that one should go through. So take us through your journey.
Okay, thank you. My journey is, or rather, my story. I always say that my journey didn't end. I'm still in that journey. I'm still
Yes,
not where I should be. And I thank God you've called it a journey because it is a journey, and I'm still in that journey. But I can go
yes.
back to where this journey actually started. And my story is more of a story of a lot of emotional instability, a lot of emotional bullying, a lot of emotional wounds, and a lot of bottled up feelings that led me to a path that was painful. So, like I said, my inspiration for mental health grew from my journey, and my journey dated started in 3 years ago. I think I was in high school. I was a young girl, very vibrant. I was a leader in my school, and
Which school?
I was in Tahoe Girls High School. And
Ah,
A school that I'm very proud of, very, very proud of, and I'm proud that I was there. I thank God even for the teachers who took me through. And so the very first time I found myself at a dark place was when I started feeling like the world would be better off without me. And that was led by little things that became very amplified in my head. You will maybe step on me one time, tomorrow you step on me again, tomorrow you step on me again, and at the end of it all, I will see it as a very big problem. So that's how my story started. There were very many things that were going on in my life that needed to be dealt with at that time that they were happening, but due to a lot of I don't know, can I call it a lot of self sabotage? I used to think that I need to be strong, I'm the head girl, I need to be always on the fast food ahead, I need to be this picture that people had already painted about me. So the very first time I found myself at a dark place was when I attempted suicide. The first time it failed, and then I attempted suicide the second time, and each time became more painful because with each attempt, I used to really believe that the world is better off without me. And I never talked about it. And I always used to ask myself, why do I really want to die this much? A part of me knew it's because I wanted to be away from all the pain, all the words that were thrown to me, because I went through a lot of emotional bullying. And I can say this without a shadow of doubt. Those who have gone through, if you have gone through physical bullying and emotional bullying, statistics say that those who have gone through emotional bullying would prefer being beaten than words thrown at them, because when you're beaten, you see the wounds and it's easy for you to apply spirit or take a Panadol and you're okay, it heals. But when you go through emotional bullying, it's a wound that you can't see. And as much the fact that you can't see it, it means that sometimes it grows and it makes you an enemy of yourself, and your self-esteem goes down, your self-confidence goes down. So the emotional bullying took me down a path of low self-esteem, low self-confidence. Yet I wanted to portray myself as a powerful head girl, a powerful girl. I was born again. I wanted to be seen as this resilient woman of faith who's young and who sings really nicely. So it was more of me trying to keep up with what people thought, the same people who used to throw words at me. So during my third attempt,
Betty,
yes, yes,
how old were you by that time? At which stage
I,
were you in education? How old were you?
I was in Form 3 and I was 17 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
can go.
yes, so I was 17. I was 17 honestly, and when I went through my third attempt took me out, like literally took me out, and I was admitted in hospital, and I was diagnosed with bipolar mental disorder. Now, bipolar mental disorder is a mental illness that is characterized by two episodes. At one time, you're very manic, very happy, very excited. I always make this joke and I say, when you're in your manic episode, you can buy everyone lunch, you can buy everyone land, because you are so hyperactive, you're so energetic. And I used to see these signs of waking up at 3 a.m. and I feel like I can wash every piece of cloth in this house, or I can go through the whole dormitory and wake everyone up and we sing and dance. So that was a manic episode. But shortly after the manic episode with bipolar, you go through a depressive episode. During the depressive episode, you become totally depressed. You become very energy energyless. You don't have energy. You become very. It's a dark period when you're in your depressive episode. So I was diagnosed with mental disorder, with bipolar mental disorder. And as much as I want to say that's where a painful part of my journey started, I also acknowledge that that's where part of my healing started. Because knowing that I had bipolar, a lot of questions were answered. I used to now understand why I wanted to die, because some hormones in my body are not balanced, and maybe sometimes there is this hormone which is released more than the other one, and it makes me super sad. So I got an understanding about bipolar. And I saw so many people, including those around me, not understand what bipolar is. And my passion for mental health and informing people about mental health started from that point, realizing that even myself, I didn't know what mental health was. I didn't know what bipolar was. I didn't know how you get it. I didn't know how you deal with it. I didn't know where to start from. I didn't know that you have to take antidepressants. I didn't know so many things. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm teaching people the same things that I didn't know when I was diagnosed with bipolar mental disorder. And during my third attempt, I was admitted in hospital and I was put under antidepressants. And I still didn't want to be helped, honestly. I got some people trying to help me, but I think I was way in a very dark pit that I didn't even understand that help is help. Help looked like being disturbed when you choose, or when you are in such, not when you choose actually, when you're in a dark place. Sometimes help may look like disturbance. Sometimes when someone tries to help you, you feel like they're fighting you. And that was where I was. So I went ahead with the fourth attempt. And after the fourth attempt, I overdosed the same antidepressants that I was given. And that was my fifth attempt. During my fifth attempt, I remember, okay, during my third and fourth attempt, I went back to school, and word came out that Miss Betty Cynthia, our head girl, is mentally ill. And the stigma I got, till date, I remember how that was for me, and I tell myself that words are really powerful. I remember walking into a toilet one time, and I saw a note where people were writing, "Stay away from her. She's Illuminati. She has a mental illness.
Yeah.
Her head is not okay." And I would see words like in a blackboard. One time, I found "To hell with you." I found so many things, and I found so many notes, and I
Wait,
put it.
what is, if I can catch you, were these words or written things done by your schoolmates, some of those people you call your friends?
Exactly. And the weird thing is, when you are around people, they love you so much. So I didn't understand what I had done to people, why people were being so mean. And right now, I understand that they didn't know what mental illness was. But at that time, it was really painful hearing, or my friend coming and telling me, "Guy, tulisikiaweni Illuminati." And it was a big issue. And I thank God for my teachers. My teachers took it well, because calling someone a devil worshiper is not an easy thing. You might think it's
Not
you hearing it
nice.
a bit, you know what, no, a little devotion, and I hear people advising people who have received emotional abuse, and they're like, si wewe unajua wewe si devil worshiper, basi kwa nini unaamini hizo maneno? Yes, I know I'm not a devil worshiper, but those words just been asking you,
The words
they just,
hurt, the words hurt, and at times,
yeah,
having been in a school where all those things, someone can easily say they exist, and people are in these groups, it's something that can really go deep in you. And so, Betty, how was your relationship with these students and teachers? Those who are for you, those who are against you. Remember that time you're in Form 3, or maybe you just gotten into your Form 4. How was it?
yeah.
Did it drop, and how did it affect your performance in school?
Of course, my performance went down because I was always out of school. In my Form 3 and Form 4 life, I don't think I've stayed in school for more than. I used to really go out of school, for therapy, for so many things. My relationship with my teachers was okay, because they were brought to a point of being told, "Okay, our head girl is going through this. We'd like you to understand. We'd like you to do this." They were informed, and that bit of information that they were given was very useful, because I never received a large share of hatred from any teacher at all my teachers were very supportive. Till date, even now that I am still here, I find some teachers still talking to me and encouraging me. So my teachers were okay. About the students, I got to a point where I didn't know who was for me and who was against me. So I went back to my own cocoon of sadness, and I kept wanting to die, because I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know who to reach out to. I didn't know if the person I'm going to reach out to is the same one who's going to go to the toilet doors and still speak ill about me. So my relationship with my friends was reserved. I didn't know who to talk to. So I don't think I even had any form of friendship, because I really went to being from depressed to totally depressed. So after my fourth attempt, after now my fifth attempt was when I overdosed with my antidepressants, and then I went back to hospital again. When I went back to
Betty,
hospital, yeah.
yes. As we head to your fifth attempt, there are those people who are wondering, these attempts, ni ile ari na msukumo wa kutaka kujitoa uhai, Now, at times they don't really understand what's going on. So in your case, what was happening in the first, the second, and the third, including the fourth stage? Were you trying to go the normal way that people know that they commit suicide, or it was rather a plain thing that you're doing? You cut yourself, or how was it? I know it's something in the past, and from your interviews, I know it's through talking that at least you let them go. How was it?
Yeah.
Which methods were you using? But please don't apply this at home. Don't try this at home. It's just out of curiosity. We know Betty went through this, and we would not wish anyone to go through the same that Betty went through while in school. So how was it? Then we come back to your fifth attempt.
Okay. So all my attempts were through overdosing. And I remember there's one bit where every time I remember it, I feel nasikia hata kizunguzungu till date. There are things that I can't say you can't heal from them, but there are things you can heal from, but not forget. And I remember when I was overdosing them, being pumped out, once you take a large amount of medicine that being pumped out, and how painful all that process was. So every of my attempt was overdosing tablets. So the first time I took 30, should I say what tablets, or okay, we've already put a disclaimer, don't try this at home, but the first time I took
At all.
30, I took 30 bits of a certain tablet. The second time I took 25 bits of another tablet. The third time was a more researched attempt, because I saw that the first and second medicines were not working. The third attempt was very well researched. I knew,
You
actually,
you
I
just
say one
wanted
thing.
to go.
This one I knew. Actually, in my third attempt, I think it's when I wrote my eulogy. This one was when I was absolutely sure that I'm gonna go, because I had heard some people had tried it and had gone. So my third attempt was well researched, was well
Wait,
executed.
Betty,
Yes,
uliandika hadi eulogy yako?
mi nilikuwa sure naenda, mi nilikuwa wa kuenda.
Ulishaandika hadi eulogy ukaprint ama uliweka tu soft copy mahali ukapea mtu password?
Ilikuwa soft copy, alafu I gave my friend. Her name is Sarah Karurwa. I wish she was watching this and she will give that how scary it was. And yeah, I gave one of my friends, actually two of my friends. And yeah, because I was sure, if anything, I was sure that the third attempt would work. And I think that's why I say the third attempt was where my turning point was, as much as it was where my pain started. Because after the third attempt, that's when I was diagnosed with bipolar mental disorder, when I went back to hospital and was admitted.
And
Now
there are
the
those who
doctor,
are asking, I've
yeah,
seen I've seen a
yeah.
question from JL Empire, and is asking, what is this bipolar state?
Okay, bipolar is a mental illness. There are very many types of mental illnesses. For example, if we say a list of physical illnesses, we'll say headache, we'll say stomach ache, leg ache, But when we come to mental illnesses, there are also types of mental illnesses. One is depression. Depression is actually an illness, and there is anxiety as well. There is a disease called schizophrenia. There is a disease called post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD), and bipolar. Now, bipolar is one of the mental illnesses. Now, bipolar is characterized by two episodes. I had said this before. And then in the two episodes, bi means two. So you
Yeah.
get to experience two episodes. One is a manic episode. The manic episode is an episode where you are super, super, super aggressive. You see these people who, when you see in the movies, mtu anaanza kurukaruka tu, anashikwa, anadungwa sindano, that's how you are in your manic episode. You become super, super active, super aggressive.
Hyper.
Some become violent, some become uncontrollable, some become you're very hyper, you're very extremely hyper. And the second episode that comes after the manic episode is a depressive episode. Now, when you're in your depressive episode, it becomes the darkest and lowest moment of your life. And all my suicide attempts happened when I was in this episode, because every time after my depressive episode, I used to have a manic episode. So I didn't understand how come sometimes I'm super happy, super active, like I said, I was washing utensils at 3 a.m. I was jumping. I was in some. I was a happy person to be around. But then shortly after that, a wave of sadness hits me, and I wanna die. So that's what bipolar is. Bipolar can be caused by, it can be hereditary. Maybe your aunt or your aunt had it. It can be hereditary. It may be hormonal. That's when your hormones are imbalanced, and this part of your body secretes more of this hormone that produces sadness or happiness more than this other hormone. And it can also be through stress, normal life stressors that you have not dealt with. Now, for me, it was more of my hormones were really imbalanced, and also the stressors in life were triggers. So I hope I have answered the person who's asked what bipolar is, and I hope I've answered it well.
Yes, yes, that's well answered, Betty. And so
Mm,
you are taking us on the fifth stage, and we know there are a number of questions, and I can just tell them, those who are watching us tonight, this is a story of living another chance and getting another chance to live and also to enjoy those things that you really wish to continue enjoying. So if you're joining us live on Facebook and YouTube, our guest tonight is Miss Betty Cynthia, talking about battling mental illness. This is a personal story, and this is a story that she keeps telling out here to encourage someone who's going through such a condition, that there is light, and there will, of course, be light at the end of the tunnel. And so, Betty, bring us up to speed now on the last attempt, because what I read before we came to the show, you are on your fifth attempt of suicide.
yeah. Yes. So the fifth attempt was okay. I always say if there were two times I was sure was the third attempt and also this fifth attempt. My fifth attempt was I took very strong tablets that made me go back to hospital, and I was admitted for a very long time. And during this period, I remember it was in May 2018, and I was in the hospital ward, and I remember this nurse coming into my room, and he tells me the first time he comes into my room and checks my vitals, checks if I'm okay, my blood pressure. My blood pressure at that time was super high. And then he goes out and then he comes back in. And I remember him sexually defiling me. And as he did that, he told me, no one is ever going to believe you. He called me by my name. He said, Betty, no one is ever going to believe you, even if you said I did this. And my words, and this is a story I don't really share about because a story I should share about, but a story I don't share about because till date I fail to understand why someone can be so inhuman. And I remember the same words he told me are the same words that led me to start my organization, because that same night I remember telling God, you have given me a mental disorder. At this time I was I was shifting the blame to God. Something I shouldn't have done, but at that moment it looked so right to blame God for everything. So I remember telling God, you've given me a mental illness, and then you've watched a nurse in the same hospital that I'm supposed to be getting peace. You've watched him come into my room, touch me inappropriately, and then blaming me for having a mental illness, because he told me no one is ever gonna believe you. He told me that he has my records, the hospital has my records. They know that I have attempted suicide so many times, and they know that I'm sick in the head. So even if I say anything, no one is ever gonna believe you. And I kid you not, no one believed me. I remember saying that story, and the nurses, that morning after everything happened, and my parents came, my family came, and I told them this happened. And my family did believe me, but I remember the nurses looking at each other and saying, who you? I'm a sick, I'm a cheesy. And I was so mad. I was so mad because I felt used and I felt betrayed. And since then, I told myself that they say that no one is going to believe me. I'm going to make sure that no one goes through what I went through. No one is ever going to be blamed for having a mental illness. So after I was discharged from hospital, I started cutting myself. Now that was my last attempt. I started cutting myself. I still have those wounds on my hand, on my thighs. I started really cutting myself and bleeding a lot. But that was more of me showing myself that I have so much inward anger that needs to be portrayed outwardly. It felt so nice. And Right now, when I remember it, I
Wait,
start feeling
what felt?
pain.
What is this that felt so nice? Cutting yourself.
Yes, yes, it felt so therapeutic.
Now
It
I'm
felt,
the
yeah, yeah, na wembe, yeah, na wembe. Sina kisu hapana, na wembe. So I used to really cut myself, really cut myself, and I used to see the blood, and I will tell myself, even this pain cannot be compared to the pain in my heart. This pain cannot be compared to how painful the situation I was in was. So it was not painful when I was doing it, but right now when I remember it, I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. I start feeling the pain even though there's no pain right now. So after my sixth attempt, I decided I need help. So the words that nurse told me became my fuel. Till date, those words keep reverberating in my head. No one is ever gonna believe you. And I told myself that I'm gonna make it my aim and my purpose in this life to make sure that mental health is believed. Because he said that no one
wow.
is gonna believe me. Yeah.
Yes, and if indeed no one was going to believe you, that's the moment we can say, and I can see my producer is there, and I can confirm that I can see him. And so we'll be having some of the comments. And Betty, after this, we'll be getting some questions, and those people will be sharing their sentiments as well. So if you're joining us on this live discussion, this live broadcast on Facebook or YouTube, feel free to comment. Tell us you have your story of mental health, mental illness. What would you like to know that Betty can address? Betty, we are coming back and you'll be telling us more also on your foundation. What pushed you to start it and how is it so far? We don't want to ask who are those people financing this. Yes, but we'll be back after this short break that you're taking just to appreciate our viewers who are there. We have a number of comments both on Facebook and YouTube. If we can get them rolling on the screens tonight, Mr. Producer, we have Lumumba Felix, Leo Nikubad on free mode. We understand those who are on free mode and they still make the time to be here with us. Thank you very much, Lumumba Felix, all the way from Kisumu. Aha, next time nitakuja. Oriwo Samuel, usikuje kucheka. Thank you very much. Alex Onsase, watching from Eldoret, Kitenge Festival. Betty, you look lovely. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for joining us tonight, Alex Onsase. If you get other comments, Kevin Amuhaya, tuned in from Nairobi, Kenya. Thanks, Kevo. Other comments, if you can get them. Yes. Brian Mullis Akeno, karibu sana Betty from Kisumu. Niko locked. I'm ready to learn from you. And we have a number of people who are here. Josephine Kieti, tuned from Nairobi. Nicholas Oginga, tuned from Kilifi. Don Epojaka, hello, tuned from Kochi, India. Welcome, Cynthia. It is a timely discussion. Indeed, mental health is important day in, day out. And thanks so much. Wairimu Kabati, you are so brave and amazing, Betty. Keep at it. Bwize Bobo, M-Town. M-Town locked. Hii M-Town ni gani? Tuambie hapo ni watu wanasikiza. Nafuna Masi, very important knowledge. Thanks so much. And we have a number of these people who are here. Great show from Best Prof. Hii discussion inaweza sana. Cynthia, do justify that Kangogo's case as a mental battle issue. What's your take on that issue? And that was to be the next point of discussion when we come back after this comment and the appreciation stage that we are in for our viewers. All these people are viewing on YouTube and Facebook. You'll give us your sentiments on Caroline Kangogo's case that is currently the cop who is on the run. We don't know where she is and everyone is afraid. Watu wa Eldoret wanasema wanalala 6:30 kwa sababu hawataki 7 iwapate kama wako nje. So you'll be telling us your sentiments on that and what's your take. If it's a mental case, mental illness case, on your side as Betty, Cynthia, do you think our cops are doing something about it? Hold on to that thought when we come back after this comment session. We'll be here. Wellington Katera, Millicent Ochieng, Lysas Sparrow, Evans Omondi, tuned. Thank you very much. Don Epojaka, Wairu. Okay. Kibathi. We have Afiwe, Afiwe Mkize. She's tuned from South Africa. She was our guest here on Thursday. Wow, girl, I'm amazed by your strengths. It's a shame that people are not informed about mental illness. Teenagers are silently suffering. Good luck on your journey. And indeed, this is a journey. Thanks so much, Afiwe, for tuning in, and thanks for the good work you're doing at Afiwe Education Center in South Africa. So we get this break from the comments, and we'll be coming back. Maybe before that, we get this from Alex Onsase. What's the best way to help a mentally depressed partner? And what are the possible signs that one should see to realize that actually a person is mentally ill? Maybe we start from that, then we progress backwards. Where you'll miss, I'll be here to remind you. Betty. Yes, Betty.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. So the question is, what question am I answering right now?
Yes, we start with the last question from, if we can have the question on the screen again, Don. What's the best way to help a mentally depressed partner? And what are the possible signs one should see to realize that actually a person is mentally ill?
Okay. Okay, that's a very good question. And I love that people want to learn about this because that's where we break the stigma. The minute we present information is the minute stigma is going to walk out. So, how do you know someone is mentally ill? There are so many signs, and we can characterize them one by the things someone will say. You will hear someone say something like, mi hata hii dunia ninaweza iwacha because it's better off without me. Statements like the world is better off without me. Statements like I think I'm better off dead. Statements like I don't want to live again. There are statements that someone will say, and you should automatically know that this is someone battling something within them. And the minute you ignore when they say it, you're gonna find someone who has committed suicide, and then you'll go back and wonder, na sijaisikia amesema kitu, but then that person once told you that the world is better off without me. So it needs you to be sensitive to also what your friends tell you, what your family tells you. That's a very first step of knowing someone is mentally ill, by what they say. And from what you say, the Bible says that from the abundance of the heart speaketh the mouth. So you will know that someone is going through something by what they say. Number two, by how they behave. Utapata mse anakuanga extremely active, someone who's super active, and then one time or for a prolonged time, they would just want to stay in bed. They don't want to eat. They don't want to go out. Someone who's used to going out a lot, you find that in 3 months amejifungia tu kwa nyumba ama anakosa usingizi. There are those telltale signs in terms of behavior that will tell you that there is something wrong. This is not only to your friend or your family, even to yourself. You might find that you're a very active person, a very energetic person, but then there comes this time and it becomes prolonged and you feel like, umechoka sana, hausikii psyche ya life, unapata tu kama we ni mse umezoea kulala on time, you see just like a shift in your schedule. That's to tell you that there's something wrong and you need to deal with it. You need to talk about it. So we have dealt with what people say, how you behave, and also how someone thinks. For example, utapata mtu tu anafikiria okay, I think the thinking and the saying go hand in hand in a way. So even your thought process, there are times that you find yourself thinking you don't want to live anymore, thinking that everything is too much and you need a break from life. So when that time comes, or when you hear someone amplifying those kind of thoughts, you'll take it really seriously because that's someone who has something to say. And what you're gonna tell them immediately, they tell you that the world is better off without them, determines what path or what step this other person is gonna take. Because utasikia mse amesema mi dunia heri niende, and then the person listening to them aseme wewe enda utoe line ya watu wa kuolewa or something cheesy like wewe enda ndio tuache kujaza dunia, and then you realize this person will commit suicide, and you will wonder, I never knew this. I know a friend of mine who committed suicide, and it was painful, and I was trying to retract back and think of things he used to do and say, and I used to see a lot of symptoms. And right now, it does me no justice saying I used to see. I wish when I saw them, I did something about it. So let's all be careful. So to answer that question, I hope I've answered it. In how you feel, how you think, things people say, and how your view of life, you will know that there is a problem. And the question about
Betty?
how to, sorry, oh yeah,
Yes, you can proceed.
the question of how to deal with a mentally ill person or someone
Yeah.
who's depressed. It might be your mother, it might be your sister, it might be your girlfriend, it might be your wife or husband. The first very step is understanding them. There's a lot that comes with, there's a lot of healing that comes when you see someone understand what you're going through, not just sympathize with them and feel sorry for them. We don't want pity. We want you to fit yourself in our shoes and understand how painful it is and how much energy it takes to even get out of bed when you think that you have no purpose. So the very first step is understanding them, and I know it can get a little bit difficult because sometimes you see they're not improving, maybe want to deteriorate in terms of health, but it needs you to be a very understanding person. And also make a point of learning about mental health and mental illness. The minute you have that information, ukiona kitu haitakushtua, ukiona msee tu siku moja labda ako suicidal, hautakuwa like wewe sasa kwa nini unataka kujiua na vile uko na maisha poa. Such statements are very heavy to someone who is suicidal. When you start trivializing the situation and you're like, sasa wewe na vile uko na pesa mingi na uko na bwana na bibi na uko na kila kitu, sasa kwa nini utake kujiua? Such statements for someone who's going through a dark period is a heavy statement, because then you've made the problem look so small that they start thinking, mimi hata hili niondokee hii shida, kuna watu wako na mashida kubwa. Every situation matters, every life matters. So one, to deal with someone who's mentally ill or a depressed person, feed yourself with information about that specific topic, and also please understand them and understand that they are not making the personal decision to be sick. We have not signed up for mental illness. There is no form that we sign to say that we want to be mentally ill. It just it's a disease like any other. And the way you will understand someone with cancer or malaria is the same way you will understand someone with depression, someone with bipolar, someone with anxiety, someone with schizophrenia, someone with PTSD, or any other mental illness.
Well, understanding is key to everything that you do, and be it your partner, your girlfriend, as Betty has said, or anyone who is close to you, always understand. And at the end of it, that's the start of the healing process. Thanks so much, Betty, for this. And in all this discussion, there is one part that is missing. I would like to get it from you. How was the reception? How was the family to you? How did they receive you with your mental state? Your friends in the family, I can say your brothers and sisters, or even your cousins, all these people in your close inner circle. How did they receive your mental state?
I will say that a great support system really contributes to someone's healing. I remember when I was diagnosed with mental illness, no one in our family knew what it was, but they made it their personal aim to understand what bipolar is, how to deal with it, how to deal with someone with it. So when I saw they have bought interest in wanting me to heal, even my own healing accelerated. So that's why I'm saying, even to refer to the other question, when the people around you are very supportive, you as a mentally ill person, you'll find yourself that you are wanting to take a day at a time. So for me, my family was really supportive. Till date, they are really, really supportive, because at times I have my days as well, something that I acknowledge. That's why I started by saying, I have not reached my destination. I'm still on that journey. And they've really been supportive, taking me to therapy, understanding me on my low days and on my high days, and wanting to buy interest into this mental health thing that I started. Even when I started my organization, they bought interest and they supported it fully, because they knew that I'm going to get a lot of healing from talking about what I've been through. So a great support system will really contribute to someone's healing. If at all wangerusha mikono waseme, huyo wacha tuachane na yeye, I don't think I will be where I am right now. So they really, really did support me. They really held me. They really understood me. And they really loved me in my bad days and in my good days.
Wow, family plays a key role, and once they accept you, that's another way to start healing, and it's easier with that. Waruiru Kibathi, you are brave. You are so brave and amazing, Betty. Keep at it. And we have these sentiments here coming from Millicent Ochieng, and we'll get to that. There's a question she asked earlier. Uh, this is a great discussion. Thanks, Betty, for opening up. For opening up. You are a wonderful woman. JL Empire, we had answered your question, and thanks, Millicent, for sparing this time tonight to be here with us. Were there some external factors that led you to this mental illness, Betty?
Yes, yes, yes. I wouldn't call them factors, but I would call them triggers. There are a lot of triggers around me that even made my situation become more more dire, more difficult. Because the minute I was even diagnosed with the mental disorder, I remember, or even before, I had already gone through a lot of emotional abuse, like I've said, a lot of words thrown at me, a lot of wounds
Yes.
within me that I had not dealt with. So that was one of the external factors. One, the atmosphere around me that I didn't take too well, honestly, and I didn't handle it maybe as I should have, quote quote. And yeah, so there are a lot of triggers. What people would say, the words really was one of the triggers and the factors that led me down the path that I was. And even when I was diagnosed with it, the words still kept coming. And now I'm at a point where I've just chosen to be very resilient and very to stick on the path that I'm in, because I've known my journey, I've known how hard it was. So when I see something about to take me back there, I tell myself categorically, you know the pain of going down that path, so you need to stay on this narrow path of healing. So yeah, I had a lot of external factors, and a lot of external factors can cause these mental illnesses as well. The triggers and stressors of life.
Great. And Betty, the next question that comes from Millicent or Chieng is a question that I will have to put it up after you telling us about your foundation. What's the name of your foundation, and what kind of work do you do there? These audience, these people are watching us tonight. Mimi Bree, Sami Kamau, JL Empire, Meshach, Don Jaka, Wize Bobo, Caroline Omolo tuning in from Nairobi, and everyone who is here, Alex Onsase, JL Empire. All these people, how can they benefit from your foundation? If you can tell us briefly what your foundation is all about.
Okay, so we are a family, like a small family of 10 people. I've seen Waroro Kibathi. Waroro Kibathi is our photographer and our videographer. So I will say, let me shout out and say thank you for tuning in. And
Salam.
so we, so we are a family, or rather an organization, that deals with two things: one, information, and inspiration. So in an year, we have three projects: one in May, another one in September, and a bonus project where we have outreaches to talk about mental health. We just create spaces where people can come and talk about their struggle, and also us, we can feed them with the information that we have about mental health. Because, like I said, immediately we introduce information, the stigma walks out. So that's why we are guided by the two principles of information and inspiration. And we also, oh yeah, so that's a part of information. In inspiration is we get stories, we get projects where people are going to come and share their struggles with life. And this is with an aim to make people understand that in this world, you're not alone. You can reach out to us and we can help you and you can talk about it. And we just create safe coping mechanisms, and we teach people how to be resilient in between a storm. Or also we link you to psychologists if maybe you need professional help. Since us, we're just mental health activists, we know that there's need for clinical therapy. So we also connect you to psychologists if you need one, and we walk this journey together. We take you through personal recovery, and we also make sure that if need be, there is clinical recovery where we can tell you to see this psychologist. And we have an Instagram page that is running 24/7. If you need to talk about anything, just go there, DM, and you'll always find someone who is there and willing to talk to you. Also, in our pages, we have over 100 posts where we talk about different things. We talk about bipolar, we talk about depression. We have a catalog of places you can get help, hospitals and their numbers and their location. So we are more of shedding light in the topic of mental health. And we also now have these projects. Like in May, we had a project called Mess to Message, where we were visiting a community center, And in September, we're also going to have an amazing project where we are going to demystify mental health and find help for those who need help. And we are here to remind you that the world needs you and that we love you.
Well, this world needs you. And as I said initially, this is a story to give you hope, and this is a story to show you that there is a possibility. And at the end of the tunnel, at the end of all these struggles, you'll be in a position to see that light. And thanks so much, Betty, for being here with us tonight. That's the foundation, MSD Foundation. Betty is the CEO and all the team that are tuned tonight. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And on your foundation, if you can get the question from Millicent, uh, here's the question. What are the challenges that you go through while helping mentally ill people? Betty.
Okay. One of the challenges we face is when we are handling a person and they do maybe 6 months of good recovery and they are okay, super okay, and then on the 7th month they find themselves at a point of wanting to die again. I think when I started being a mental health activist, I've buried 3 people who have committed suicide. And these are people that I have begged, literally begged, we can do this together, don't die on me. So that has been the greatest challenge, seeing people give up on me and to give up on us. And that has been the most heartbreaking and the saddest thing, honestly, because it feels bad to see that you offered help and still someone maybe was going through such a dark time that it was no longer help for them. So that's the first challenge we face as an organization. Number two is maybe we would want to have a project in the rural areas, or we would like to have a project in Mombasa, but sometimes it becomes a little bit difficult. And also, basically, the stigma around mental health is a barrier. And that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to break this barrier and just be free birds in the field of mental health, honestly. So, those are the 3 challenges that I can think of on top of my head.
Oh, great. And we have many more comments coming through our social handles tonight. And thanks so much for sparing this time to be here with us. Our producer, right, all the way from India, is doing an amazing job on the background. And thanks so much. Nafuna Masi, what kind of my lifestyle, if I can get it, if I can get that question, it has just passed me. Producer, if you can get it from Nafuna, towards the bottom of our stream. Yes, yes. There we are. What kind of my lifestyle changes will help with my symptoms of depression? If you can get that question.
That's a good question. What part of your lifestyle change? Oh, sorry, please repeat the question again. What?
What kind of my lifestyle changes will
Mm,
help my
okay.
symptoms? Will help with
One,
my symptoms of depression.
lifestyle changes. One, you will be surprised how much physical exercise really helps, or how much even exercise contributes to a better mental health. A healthy body is a healthy mind. A healthy mind is a healthy body. So, one of the lifestyle changes that you can make, one mentally is okay, one of the lifestyle changes that you can make is okay, or rather, let me answer that from what lifestyle changes that I made. One was to also understand myself. I know that's not a lifestyle change because people think that they understand themselves. But if we got to a point of really, really understanding ourselves and understanding when we are sad, to know that it's time to deal with the sadness, to know when you're happy, to know when you're angry, to know when you're excited, to know when you're annoyed. That was the first step that I made. And for me, it was a lifestyle change because me, every time I was sad, I never used to talk about it. But the minute I understood myself and I understood that when I'm sad, I need to talk about it, a lot of things changed. Other lifestyle changes would be, like I said, exercise. I always say there's a caffeine line between physical exercise and physical health and mental health. So if you can try also exercising and having safe coping mechanisms, like if it's exercise for you, if it's yoga, if it's talking about it, if it's journaling, writing down when you're having a bad day, if it's talking to a friend, that would really, really, really help. So for someone who has never tried any of this and you find yourself maybe you are feeling a little bit overwhelmed, I need you to try any of it. You can choose, maybe it's talking to a friend, that's very therapeutic. You can try dancing, it's very therapeutic. You can try yoga, very therapeutic. You can try physical exercise, very therapeutic. If you're not an exercise person, you can just try meditating. Just try once in your life to just sit down and pause. Pause every voice, pause every noise, pause everything and just be with yourself. That's one of the greatest lifestyle changes that I had, to learn how to meditate and to understand when I'm angry that I need to deal with the anger. When I'm sad, I need to talk about it. When I'm happy, I need to be fully happy. I don't need to be half happy, half sad. When I'm happy, when I choose to be happy, I need to be fully happy. When I'm sad, I need to talk about it. When I'm angry, I need to deal with the anger. I'm not trying to shove my anger behind and say, I'm going to deal with you later. Don't postpone sadness, don't postpone anger, and don't postpone happiness. Deal with every emotion as it comes, when it comes.
Wow. Hakuna kusongesha mbele. And thanks
Mm.
so much. We have Mimi Bree. Mimi Bree, depression is so bad. I'm glad you're giving tips to deal with it. Insightful talk. Thanks, Mimi Bree, for tuning. Today you are tuning in from Ushatoka Moi. JL Empire, I'm learning a lot. Thanks, Betty, for sharing. This is helpful. Mesha Kwashuri, you're really brave. Bwize Bobo anasema kwa Mombasa, na anasema Don Apple Jaka kwema kabisa. Hawana jambo. Amazing that we had read it. And so we are going to have more comments. Millicent H, Betty, you research ways to die. Wengine wanasema tu inawachiwa kwa movies. A thousand ways to die. Indeed, Betty did it. I'm so sorry for what you went through. That's the message there from Millicent Ochieng, tuned here from Nairobi, Kenya. We have more questions coming here, and we are 57 minutes into this discussion. Betty, I told you I'm going to take 1 hour, and this is what usually happens in our shows. We are almost coming to the end of the show, 3 minutes to the actual end, but now we have all these questions that we should address before we come to the end. Best up, Prof, does drugs contribute to some of the causes you meet, and how can I help a person I know? Give some tips, please.
Uh-huh. So for me, I have seen people use drugs as a coping mechanism for an already established problem. So it becomes dangerous when you try treating a mental illness with a fleeting feeling like being high or being drunk, or when you try treating mental illness with something that is very temporal. So I have seen people take drugs to forget their problems, to postpone their problems, to postpone their anger. And I would really rule that and say it's not safe, because even after you wake up, after you're high, after your hangover, your Monday, Tuesday ukiamka utarealize bado ile kitu ulikuwa unapotelea ukikunywa hizo chupa mbili, your problem is still there. So I would advise people to find very safe coping mechanisms, like talking about it. You know, instead of taking that bottle of Tusker or whatever you're gonna take a friend and talk about it, because you realize that talking about it gives a more lasting effect, a more lasting solution, because the minute you talk about it, you realize that your burden is off you and it has maybe gone out to your friend. You've shared your burden, in short. So
Yes.
for someone who's taking drugs, and how you need to help them is to make them understand that that's just a fleeting and temporal solution. And sometimes you find that when you take drugs and you are connecting them to mental illness, they don't heal you. You might think they're healing you, but they keep accelerating your anger, they keep accelerating even what you already have, because now you become dependent on alcohol to deal with your situations. And there's a time when you're gonna come and realize that it's not working, and then you become so frustrated because you wondered, all these years I've been taking alcohol to deal with my anger and everything, but right now it's not working, because it shouldn't work really, because it's just a fleeting it's a temporal and fleeting desire, a temporal and fleeting solution. So I would advise people to have safer coping mechanisms. It can be therapy, it can be yoga, it can be talking about it. It can be even writing down your problems. If you don't feel like maybe you don't have friends or you don't have someone to talk to, you can maybe write it down. And we have platforms, we present platforms where, as we are strangers, you don't need to know us to tell us your problems. You just come tell us your problems, us let us carry it. And that's what MST we do. We just want to take your problems and get them off you and remind you that, okay, you've talked about it. You don't even need to think at whether we're going to gossip it or not. As we are strangers, you don't know us. Come to our DM, tell us all your problems. We give you an answer, and you don't have to keep wondering huyu ataenda ambie rafiki yako ama atakusengenya wapi. So I will advise you to tell that friend or help them understand that they need a more lasting solution. Alcohol is not a more lasting solution. You then become an alcoholic, and then now you have a second problem. You are mentally ill, and now you're an alcoholic. And those are two different sensitive topics that are actually both really big problems. So what you're doing is you're dealing with a problem with another problem. Yeah.
Wow. So Betty, we are 1 hour into this, and it's 9:01, 1 minute past 9 p.m. That's East Africa time, and we have those who are really out of the way to be here tonight. Thank you very much for answering these questions as is. And we asked you, what's your story? Josephine Kieti is here. My brother had a mental illness last year in March, and as a family, we worked together with him, something which contributed much to his recovery, as Betty says. Thank you so much. I'm learning a lot. Thanks, Josephine Kieti, also for being here tonight. And so we have Kevin Mwariri Jones tuned. Thank you very much. And we have Oriwo Samuel and Lumumba. Thank you very much. You're on free mode and you're on you are on Facebook and you are really contributing. Thank you very much for keeping us company there. We have this question from Alex Onsase, and we are not yet on the watershed hours, and we'd like to get your thoughts on this. Will having a good lungula every day help mental stress because you are happy when on it?
That's because we might laugh, but that's what people think. Like I said, it gets back to, I will put lungula and alcohol in the same WhatsApp group. What you're doing is you're dealing because same WhatsApp, you're dealing with a very serious problem with something that is fleeting. Because maybe you do it for 15 minutes and then after that, you're looking for temporal happiness. When you're in it, you're happy, but immediately you are out of it, you still have to deal with the same situation you still have to deal with the same situation that was on the table. So I wouldn't advise people to use fleeting desires to deal with mental illness. There are other ways that you can deal with mental illness. If it makes you happy for that moment, yes, it might make you happy for that moment. But if you put it here and then later you find a way to deal with your mental illness, then it's okay. But don't use it to deal with a mental illness. Don't say that it's the one that is gonna cover your mental illness and then you're gonna move on. One time it's just gonna uncover, because you can't always lungula when you're sad. What if mtu akukanyange na gari? Were you gonna just find someone and try to deal with that way? So it all gets back to safe coping mechanisms. Let's find safer coping mechanisms. Let's understand that we can talk about things, we can write about things, we can have therapy, we can even, if you're spiritual, we can pray about it. There are other coping mechanisms that have more permanent and lasting solutions.
Wow, great. Talk about them, get alternative coping mechanism. And that's a good way to bring this message home. And thanks everyone who tuned tonight. And we'd like to get final words from Miss Betty Cynthia, who has been our guest tonight. We have all those people tuned: Eunice Wamboi, Cedric KK, Daniel Amemba. We have a number of people, Philemon. Thank you very much, Oriwo. And back to you, Betty. What's your final word, and if you can combine it with the last point, maybe a pointer too, a pointer. The current case that we have for Caroline Kangogo, what can you make of it? Are there those people suffering in silence? Then they just explode one day and do such crazy things?
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't want to diagnose her with a mental illness and justify it and say that she had every reason to kill or do what she did. I wouldn't want to say that. I wouldn't even be in a position to say that. But I will say that in such a scenario, you will find that maybe there's a lot of hidden anger within her that she didn't deal with, and that was a point of explosion. That was a point of exploding. And we are not justifying that she did wrong. She did wrong, but we are also saying that in such a case, or in a case like that, when we see so many killings, we should now get back to the drawing board and start asking ourselves, so what are we going to do about this? We're having so many homicides, we're having so many suicides, and this is just to tell you that even the mental state as a country is really, really wrong. You know, everyone has a bit of anger, but what you do with your anger is what matters. Everyone has some bitterness within them. What you do with it is what matters. So maybe for Caroline, she had a lot of anger and she chose to maybe start slaughtering people. We're not justifying it, we're just saying that we all have bits of anger, we all have bits of passion, we all have bits of so many things, but how we deal with it, how we cope with it is what matters. That's why I'm always saying find a safe coping mechanism. Don't let yourself get to a point of explosion, because once you explode, as much as you will feel guilty, you're gonna realize that the damage is already done, and now you start have to deal with the damage instead of at that time when you realized you're angry, you will have just dealt with the anger and not dealt with the damage later. So for her, I don't want to diagnose her with mental illness, but immediately I heard the story, I knew that there's something behind it. There's something behind her mental health that is not okay, or there's a lot of rage and anger within her that she dealt with in the wrong way. Yeah.
Great. And so your last word to those people who are suffering silently, and even those people who have not come out to be open on their mental illness state as we finish.
So my last word to anyone who's suffering silently is you don't have to suffer silently. We can talk about it and you can get help. Don't suffer silently. We're here to tell you that we are voicing this voiceless topic because we know how much it can be if you don't voice it, or how much consequences they can be emotionally, spiritually, physically, even when you don't talk about it. So we are here for you, and it's so hard for someone who thinks that the world is better off without them. It's so hard for them to reach out. So what we're doing is we are reaching out to you, and we are telling you such conversations are to break the stigma around mental health. You know, you're not alone. You're not alone. What you're going through is valid, but also one other thing that is valid is your life. Your life is very valid. Your life matters. So I know it can be very difficult, and we understand. We are here to tell you that we are not saying your situation is small, or that wewe kwenda huko unapenda ku overreact ama unapenda ku pretend. We are telling you, come with your struggles and put them on the table. Let's talk about it and let's find help for you in any way. And to urge the society to also be there for each other. Don't say words that can hurt anyone. Don't Everyone is going through something, so it doesn't cost anything to just be kind. Be kind to everyone that you're gonna meet. Be kind to everyone that you're gonna come across, because you never know what someone is going through. So let's live in a world that is full of love and kindness. And yeah, please know that there is always help. There is always help somewhere. And God loves you as much as we do. We love you too.
Wow, what a way to bring the show to an end. Some of the people like to connect with you on social media platforms. If you can just say them, they're still on the screen. How can we get to you on Facebook and Instagram?
Now on Facebook is Betty Cynthia. On Instagram is Miss Betty Cynthia. Immediately you find me on my platforms, you're gonna see my MST Foundation and everything. So you can just follow me and then you're gonna see MST Foundation, or you can just follow please MST Foundation as well. It's all good. It's all one.
Great, great. You follow Betty Cynthia across social media platforms, and we'll be bringing more information on her foundation on our social media platforms. So feel free to interact with that content once it comes to you, and that will be all about MSD Foundation, location, what they do, and how you can get this kind of assistance in our society. It's been nice. And finally, after how many months? 5 months? We last talked about this in February. And thanks so much for honoring the invite this month to be our guest. And it's been a pleasure having you tonight, Betty.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone who tuned. Till next time, keep it the alternative voice. Remember to subscribe and also to follow this platform across all the social media handles that you have. Till next time, stay safe and bye.